of this new agreement, any such move would risk sanctions. Well, let's talk to Dr. Thomas O'Donnell, who's a global energy analyst at the Hertie School of Governance in Berlin. Dr. O'Donnell, welcome. Well, a deal is a deal, but President Putin is presumably cracking open the Russian champagne. President Biden won't be celebrating so much.
Yes. Well, what should I say? This is not a deal that I think the Biden administration wanted to make. I might disagree. One could disagree with their assessment, but it is true they came in when the thing was 90-something% complete, and Trump had refused to really go after the pipeline. He only put sanctions when Congress forced him to. And the situation was the Germans had made it very clear to the Americans that no matter what happens, they're going to finish this pipeline. Every sanction that had been put on had been overcome by the Russians simply performing the tasks. So it probably would have been very difficult or impossible, perhaps, to stop it. And Biden made this decision. The Germans put him in a very difficult position with everything that was coming up. G7 meeting, NATO meeting, wanted to show a real change of unity of the Western alliance, transatlantic alliance, and then go confront Putin at a summit. And the Germans were playing hardball. They simply were not cooperating beforehand. They wanted this pipeline for their own, well, I would say, national interests.
One U.S. Republican congressman has described this as, in his words, one of the greatest foreign policy blunders in recent history. You're immersed in this subject, but explain to us how so.
Well, okay. Whether it was a blunder or not, we have to wait and see what the bigger scheme is here. It's definitely does damage to the United States image with our allies in Eastern Europe. And it has been the United States that's been taking the lead in Eastern Europe through the 3 Cs initiative in developing infrastructure to tie these countries together to better resist Russian dependence on Russian energy, the Chinese Belt and Road, and so forth. So the deal that was gotten, what I have to stress about the deal that was gotten, maybe it's sort of face-saving for the United States in the sense that everything Germany has agreed to here is nothing that you wouldn't expect one of your allies to already be willing to do. To put sanctions on Russia if they have aggression against Ukraine, to put sanctions on Russian energy if they cut off energy to Europe through Ukraine. I mean, this is the or they're going to invest $1 billion or so in Ukrainian green energy. Believe me, windmills aren't going to stop Putin, and the Germans already were pushing to invest this money in Ukraine. So, there's not so much compensation here. What more the United States could have gotten out if they would have put sanctions on Germany, directly sanctioning German companies, everything would have blown up before the German election. I understand Biden's point of view. And it might not have stopped the pipeline. Then how would the United States have looked? Weak in another way. So you're sort of damned if you do and damned if you don't at this point.
Some energy commentators are suggesting that Europe is heading for a gas war. Is that overcooking it, or is that realistic?
Well, the ball's always in Putin's court, and now more than ever. Now, it depends what Mr. Putin wants. What has happened is, as we all know, the energy prices in Europe are quite high in the wake of COVID. There's a gas shortage, and the prices are at record levels for a decade or so. Now, this is a time when normally Gazprom would be making money. The Ukrainians offered to them extra transit through their country, and extra transit to Europe in general is being offered to them. And this has been, since the beginning of the year, and they're simply not buying it. They have the gas. They don't buy it. They're not filling the storage that one would need for the coming winter. So this not only drives price up for the Russians, but it puts Europe and Ukraine in a precarious position if Putin decides, say, to do something militarily in Ukraine. He also sort of has the European Union he has them in a bad situation energetically. And so it could very well be, I would say, a gas war per se, but it's not a gas war in that way. It's him using gas as a geopolitical weapon. 40% for the last many years, 40% of the gas that Europe uses comes from Russia. And that's something they can't escape, and so he has a leverage.
Dr. Thomas O'Donnell in Berlin, thank you very much for talking to us.